Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome to chant.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome to chant. Wait, that's too confusing for people.
Wow, what an introduction to the new episode. Let us know via Instagram if you think we should start a band, and maybe we might just do so. And while you're there, give us a follow so you never miss a new episode coming out. Okay, enough chit chat for now, let's just jump right into the episode. Today we are talking about the Rembrandt auction that happened at Sotheby's in July 2020. Enjoy!
Chart where we chat about. You should know that by now, if you're a regular listener.
If you're not, maybe listen to the many episodes we already have up.
If you're not, let's be real. What are you doing? We are delivering great content to you.
You could, in the bath, when you're cooking dinner, going to break up with your boyfriend.
Yeah.
Going
to make up with your
We don't discriminate.
Or girlfriend, or
about to hook up with your ex.
Or about to go hook up with your ex. True. If you're reorganizing your closet, literally anything. You could be listening to the podcast, driving,
walking,
crying. You could do it when you're crying.
Yeah, don't watch the YouTube videos while you're driving. That's not safe.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Tell your children about it. Tell your grandma.
Anyway,
tell your mates.
So today we've been gathered here to...
We're talking about the Rembrandt Richter sale that happened on the 28th of July at Sotheby's in London and in New York.
And Hong Kong.
Yeah, no, it was online.
And it was Hong Kong as well.
Right.
Yeah.
It was everywhere.
It was everywhere.
We watched it. Well, Kristy and I watched it.
Like, yeah.
And we wanted to talk about it because we thought it was an interesting sale as it covers so many different art.
500 years. 500 years of art. And it's one of the first, I don't think it's one of the first, but it's one of the big, so their summer sales for auctions are normally the biggest, as in they normally have the most expensive works, and the evening sale is normally the highlight, while the day sale would be like little smaller works or like drawings. And this particular sale included, as we said, 500 years of art from Renaissance till contemporary. And obviously we had the star of the show, the Rembrandt portrait, which is tiny, 22 times 16 cm.
So small.
So it's like this small.
I saw it in real life, and I was really kind of taken aback by, the low estimate being 12 million, and then seeing that painting
that small.
Like that.
So it has, the estimate was 12 million to 16 million, which is not the most expensive for the whole sale.
No.
The most expensive one is Joan Miró.
Joan Miró.
Joan Miró's. What's the painting?
Peinture, Femme Au Chapeau Rouge.
But the painting is blue. No, I'm just saying like the painting is blue.
The painting is blue.
Like have it.
And the estimate was 20 to 30 million, and it sold for 22,300,000 pounds.
Big coins.
Yep.
If you have, that's pocket change.
Yeah,
got that money.
Actually, I have to confess, I bought the painting. It's here. Look. No, it's not. Sadly, I lost it on my way home.
You don't like it?
Oh, shame.
Yeah.
But I think like what we really want to talk about is the Rembrandt painting itself, and maybe like little bits and bobs about the auction itself, because obviously like it's the first time that they've included drawings in an evening sale. It started off with a Picasso drawing, and it sold 2.5 times the upper estimate. The hammer price, that's the hammer price. I don't know the realized price, because like with auction you have to pay the buyer's premium on top of hammer price. So actually the hammer price
I
what you pay is actually a lot more.
What is the hammer price?
Okay, hammer price is when you bid, and then when they hammer, that's a hammer price.
Yeah.
So our favorite auctioneer, his name is Oliver Barker, which is the person who moves like a snake, and he'd be like, oh, 20 mil, 25.
Oh, I hear 20. Oh, there in the back.
Yeah. Can you give me 25? Can you give me 30?
Auctions are such a spectacle. If you've never seen one, it's so much effort is put into making it this dynamic and dramatic thing.
And you can rewatch.
He's a lovely character. Yeah. You can watch it online free. That's how we watched it. We're not made of money. We're probably not going to watch it if it's not free. So that's the hammer price. And normally, buy from an auction house. How an auction house makes money is from the buyer's premium and, of course, private sales, which they do not in auctions, but obviously private. And so the buyer's premium are normally how many percent?
Doesn't that vary from like sale to sale, or is it always the same? A buyer's premium?
I think. I think they. So if it's like a particularly like expensive work, I think they do tend to have a deal with whoever they've consigned the work to. But normally, I think it ranges.
As of February 25th, 2019, Sotheby's buyer's premium for all categories, excluding wine and select online-only sales, will be 25% of the hammer price.
Yeah,
you can buy wine. It's
just okay. So
sorry, I didn't read everything.
I was gonna say, so 25 is for 400K up to 400K.
Yeah, and then
US dollars, 300K pounds. 20% of amounts in excess of more than 300,000 pounds, it'd be 25%. So 3 million pounds,
right?
And 13.9% of any amount in excess of 3 million pounds.
So for the Rembrandt painting, which sold, it doesn't say the hammer price, but anyway.
It never so like on what you see on their website, they will never show the hammer price. They will show the price realized, including the buyer's premium, 12,000,005 something.
That would be then a buyer's premium of 13.9% of that hammer price. So what is important? Why is an evening sale so important? Because they also have day sales. Is there a difference in work? Because you said that this is the first evening sale where they included a drawing.
So evening sales are normally where they show the most expensive works or more expensive works, even during the winter sale or autumn sale. And summer sale is normally their biggest, where they put in the most, when they've created these auctions over the year, over that particular year, they would put the most priced, or as they consider the most valued works in summer and evening sale. I don't think there's a particular reason for that. Maybe it just kind of works for most countries, maybe. Actually, no.
I think because the evening is a bit more prestige and
it's the idea of a bit bougier.
Yeah.
Kind of
I think night is always more glamorous and daylight is
I feel it would be a bit, maybe that's just because we are constructed to believe that, but if we would sell the Rembrandt, at 12 during lunchtime.
Noon. Yeah. You'd be but it's only lunch.
It's only lunchtime. I haven't had my glass of champagne. And
in the evening you can drink, so you're more I'm going to do that.
Who are you? You can drink it anytime. We've got champagne with brunch.
I get it's too tiring.
Who does champagne with brunch?
Everyone does champagne. Mimosa with brunch.
Yes.
Yeah, what the hell, man?
I am surrounded by
what?
No, you're not. You're surrounded by people who do it right.
Yeah.
Right.
You're outnumbered.
Besides the point. So what were, for you, Kristy, what were the highlights of the sale? What do you remember surprised you? The Rembrandt, for me, was a bit underwhelming. Yeah, I thought it would, because it'd been advertised so much. Oh, we have this Rembrandt painting, and all the sales called Rembrandt to Richter.
Then Gerhard Richter. Obviously, we all know him. German.
It's okay.
Yeah, he's great. If you don't know him, check him out.
He's incredible. Yeah. Really look him up. He's not only about painting these realistic paintings. There's so much more to it, and it's
great.
Just mind blowing. It's crazy.
10 out of 10, sexy vibe.
I was not impressed by the Richter sale as well. It wasn't I think what's really interesting is that there's a lot more interest in the drawings. Actually, those were going insane. Apart from Sheila's drawing, it was a very erotic sort of drawing, and surprisingly there wasn't like a huge load of interest. Most drawings did quite well.
A work that I was really impressed by, that it was a bidding war almost, was Alberto Giacometti's work of Femme Debout.
Femme Debout?
Femme Debout? I was so surprised. If you don't know the name, Giacometti is an Italian sculptor who made these...
You probably would have seen them somewhere. They're like really skinny. They're like...
ghosts.
But yeah, Giacometti, he's the one who makes like really skinny sculptures, and they're relatively tall, and they're supposed to like represent background, relationship with people who came out from the Holocaust and concentration camps.
I read also that apparently he does them. Like one of the things he was exploring is kind of the shape of the human being when you just don't look at them as... This was something I read
as
back
humans,
in school.
like when you're squinting your eyes and you're like...
Yeah. So like when you're like when you just see a person and you're not like paying attention to the detail, and you just see them as a whole, and there's this like very like thin shadow, which is the body. That's kind of what he represents with this like very slim figure.
Yeah.
Sold for £10,600,000. And it took around like a good 20 minutes for the lot to get sold. The sculpture is not that big. It's about 72 centimeters high. So it's a very narrow sculpture.
I think it's like, it's all about tapping into the changing climate of what people like, because obviously this sale is kind of based around the whole new trend of cross-collecting. Which basically means you're like, as a collector or as an art buyer, you're buying works from different movements, different centuries, different periods.
Vibes.
Yeah, just like, and it's also about like displaying them in a very, not necessarily yet creative, but more on a harmonious way where they're not like chronologically shown, because that's what people are sort of used to. Like if you go to Tate Modern or Tate Britain, they would be like, in particular, Tate Britain, 15th century, 16th century, 17th century. Now, whilst in this Sotheby sale, it's a lot more like, it's all over the place in a way, which is really exciting. They obviously like showed all the works in the London gallery that they have for 3 weeks, I think. And they also like curated it in a really pretty way.
It's free to go and see. So if you're ever in London,
they usually have really good stuff.
Don't be stressed about going in or feeling like you don't belong there, because a lot of people just kind of show up. It's not like a fancy place that you have to go in. You don't have to look fancy. Just like I've gone in there in like a hoodie and stuff, and I'm just like, wow, good art. Yeah, okay, cool.
Bye.
I don't even think you have to talk to anyone. You just walk in and...
No, you don't. You just walk in. In.
It's great that you can just go and see those works.
Don't be scared. It's very fun.
So I was wondering, how do they acquire the works? Is it the collector that previously owned the work before the sale calling to somebody like, hey, I have this Wassily Kandinsky painting? Or do they have an idea of what works they're looking for, and then go and search and look into the provenance list database that they have of works that they've sold?
I think it's a bit of both. So obviously if people have some work that they want to sell, they would like go to an auction house and be like, hello, I've got this work, can you evaluate it? This work also has a minimum price, minimum hammer price. So if it doesn't reach us, they wouldn't sell it. So there's that. But then there's also, for example, the auction house seeing a trend for a need for a specific artist's work. They would contact collectors who they know, who has those works, and they'd be like, oh, hello. Right now is a really good time to sell it if you want to. If you wanna, please do. Yeah, exactly. And it's really important to note that, because this one is like the first, it's forced to be an online auction, where what happened was that they had like the London office, the New York office, and Hong Kong office all sat in like really far apart and like roles. They would all be, representing their clients on the phone. I mean, it's not a surprise that it didn't do as well as previous years. I think basically 100 million less compared to last year. But again, I don't think it's too much of a surprise, because people might not be as willing to sell their works at this particular moment because of COVID. And even though the art market is still relatively like incredibly resilient, because I think it still made like around 300 million and a total of 2.5 billion with like all the sales across the year.
Even though the art world has taken a bump with COVID, it's still working and going forward.
It's still incredibly impressive. It's so impressive. The interest in, you know, acquiring art and also acquiring art on different levels.
Maybe it's a strategy. Like maybe by now, for some reason, when the market is back to its full potential, they will be more valuable and you can sell them then. I don't know. I'm really bad at investing economics.
The sale was already planned, definitely minimum a year before the actual date. So suddenly...
You think so? I think it would be like half a year.
No, they prepare it. Because you have over 50 works. I mean, having to find 50 works in like only 6 months, that's not doable. Because it's only not finding them, but only also negotiating with the owner, saying like, hey, this work would fit great, this and this and this, because the owner can also go to Phillips or to Christie's. Why would they Sotheby? So it's
choose Sotheby.
You have to check all the provenance. You have to. It's so much work. Like behind, it's one of those things. Like I always found it very funny how when people just say, "Why don't I just steal this thing?" and they just sell it. And you know, like they think the heist ends when you sell it, but actually there's so much research and preparation before an auction takes place. It's impossible to just steal something and sell it.
So if you don't know the word provenance, it's just the history of the work, where it's been, who owned it, in which exhibitions it was seen. It's kind of like the passport of the work.
Proof it's
like a CV. Passport, CV,
birth
certificate, passport, CV.
It's like
everything. It's like everything. Basically, your whole life story.
It's what demonstrates that the artwork is legit. And it's
not a dodgy situation.
Because artworks can get, you know, you can have something that's authentic, but maybe if it was stolen or something like that, or it has a shady moment in its history, people will be like,
when
and
there's
it will not
suddenly
be
a gap of 50 years.
That
would be a little bit suspicious.
Especially with antiquities.
But when you go to the Sotheby's website and go to that auction, you can check out all the lots, and then you can have all that information. So you can check out the description of the work, and then you can check out the provenance. You can check out literature that has been written about the work if you're like interested, where it's been exhibited. Some like fun info about the artist. So it's great to an auction like this is great to get familiar with the art world. Really?
And it's super interesting as well. You would firstly see like, oh, it's all about money, but then when you really look into it, you actually learn so much about the artist as well as the work, as well as while doing that also understanding why are these works so highly regarded, which brings us to why Rembrandt, that particular painting, is so expensive. Why was it the star of the auction instead of Joan Miró's 20 mil. Joan Miró. Why Joan Miró's 20 million painting wasn't the highlight, but instead it was Rembrandt's. Yeah, so basically
Why,
the Rembrandt self-portrait.
Yeah, tell her.
The kids want to know.
I'm desperate.
The Rembrandt painting, it is one of the 3 Rembrandt portraits that are still self-portraits that are still in private hands. I think the other 2 are actually on a very long loan at the Museum of Leiden, which is where Rembrandt's from. Another one I think is in Scotland.
The painting itself is from 1632.
Yes. I think he was like 22 or 26, was it? I don't remember. Rembrandt has always had this impression on people that his self-portrait is so recognizable in a way because of his facial expression and as well as how he paints the self-portraits. It was a really like quick painting, a quick impression, or like his own impression of a realistic portrayal of his face, because apparently when he signed it, the painting was still wet, so it's more like an indentation of his signature, which is quite cool. And also, I think it was also a time when he was trying to woo his wife.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really know why people paint self-portraits because, back in the day, I think, or I've been thinking why that particular self-portrait was so small because, back in the day, people would have like their portraits brought around to their potential hubby or waifu. Be like, this is my face. You want to marry me?
They couldn't put them in pillows, so they had to actually paint and bring the canvas. Yeah.
Yeah, because they do. So it's kind of like a way to court people. But obviously for Rembrandt, for him to paint other people, I think he was in a black hat and fancy clothing. I think it was one of his ways to study how to paint people's expression. So he often painted himself to kind of understand the dynamics of his face, because I guess you technically become your own best model sometimes when you can't have access to an actual real model. So he's dressed really nice, fancy, tiny painting.
I think it was a good point to mention that why it was expensive, because my experience with people who are not familiar with art auctions is that they just kind of value the painting on how beautiful it is. To go back to the old time question, I remember a few years ago the most expensive painting to have ever been sold in an auction was these two, I think it was Paul Cézanne, correct me if I'm wrong. It was a painting of two men playing cards in a table.
Yeah, that's Cézanne.
Back then, 2012, it was the most expensive painting to have ever been sold. And I remember that people I was speaking with were very confused as why is this more expensive than the Mona Lisa. People confused that the value of an artwork in the market with its value in general.
In real.
And I think, again, people tend to think that these things are valued on objectively, on the craftsmanship, how beautiful it is and all that, when actually it's more about more subtle economics like this. There's only 3 self-portraits, therefore those are going to be more expensive than other things that maybe are more bigger crafty paintings, but they're not self-portraits of Rembrandt because there's only 3 of them.
If you would think, you can compare it to the 3 self-portraits of Rembrandt versus the prints that Andy Warhol did of Marilyn Monroe, because that was the first time really where he used technical production to make a large number of these prints. So for one of those prints, there may be 1,000. That work would then have another reason that it would be valued. Number, it can be the artist compared and the number of works that there are maybe right before his passing. So many reasons are there why a work is valued, and not just because of aesthetics and
maybe just because you love it.
Right.
You've been dreaming about it your whole life. You're like, I have to own it. Comes on the market. You turn up to the auction I'm going to get this no matter the price. Well, not many people do that because it's not a very good investment, but I'm just saying it could be anything.
I think they're actually really good at investment.
Yeah, why wouldn't that be a good investment?
No, but I mean, if you pay 300 million for a 50,000, valued painting, you will never be able to sell it for that.
Yeah, of course. But thank God you don't have to pay the money that something is going to be worth to you, but only for the owner. So
a good conclusion would be
invite your friends over, turn it into a drinking game. Every time a certain number's used, invite us, maybe DM us.
Yeah.
You have reached the end of this episode. If you don't feel satisfied yet and you want more of us, we totally understand. Check out our previous episodes that have been made just for you. Also, stop by on our Instagram page @ChartPodcast so you can become part of the squad. Well, that's it for this week. See you again next week for a new episode. Chart out.